Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 214 at scavengerlife.com. 214. Remember that.
Hi, how are you, Ryan?
I'm great. Today's a little crazy.
Yeah, we're about to hop on a train to go back home from it's New York, and we wanted to do the podcast before we go.
Yes,
but
we're very ambitious.
But we aren't in a hurry.
We're not in a hurry.
So, it's been a really good 2 weeks. It kind of went by really fast.
Yeah, it feels like it went by fast.
About it. But 2 weeks is really like such the perfect amount of time to really... it's like the least amount of time that you need in a place to really start to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because when you go on like a vacation for...
a week.
7 days, even 10 days, it's like... by the time you just start getting into the rhythm of the place, you gotta go.
You're such a snob.
Why? It's true.
It's just funny.
It's true.
It's like a month minimum.
Seriously. It's like 2 weeks is the minimum to stay in a place. Because, it's that kind of thing where if you're only there for a week, as soon as you hit the ground... time is ticking,
Yeah.
It's like, it's Tuesday. Oh, we gotta leave Saturday.
Yeah. I think that's why we run this business. So that we can have the freedom to be like, let's hang out for 2 weeks. Let's go to Europe 3 weeks early.
Fine, I'm a snob. This is, I guess my point is, like, this is what I like to do. This is what I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Is like traveling, being in places for long amounts of time, exploring new places. Like, this is what I wanted to do, and this is why we run an eBay business.
This is why we do it. This is one of the big reasons.
Other people might be like, they love to collect guns, or they like to...
I like how that was the first thing you thought of.
Like, people have different passions, and that's where they want to spend
sure. Absolutely. So travel is one for us. We really like traveling.
But I also wanted to talk about, like, our trip here... encapsulates.
Yes.
Because I know that you enjoy when I use big words. Encapsulates what it's like to be a full-time person on eBay. Like
yes.
A seller on eBay. Because we talk about that. We're full-time. We make a living off of eBay.
Right.
And we're always telling it's new people treat eBay like a full-time job.
Right, exactly.
If you just quit a job where you put in 40-plus hours... put that much time into eBay.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you aren't, it's not going to work.
But it's funny because people will ask us, how many hours do you put in? And I'm like, definitely not 40.
Well,
maybe I do.
I guess then there's caveats, It's like, I remember when we first started our eBay store, it was full bore.
Yeah.
Full time.
Like I was...
we didn't know when to stop because we didn't know how much we had to list to make... a living, and we just weren't sure,
Yeah,
it was just
obsessive,
and also we had to build up our store.
Yeah,
but these past 2 weeks are a good example of what it's like, what the benefits are of doing all the work up front.
Yeah, exactly.
We really haven't done any eBay this week.
This week, no, not.
Although again, that's not exactly true. It's like running this full-time store. It's kind of like all in the background.
Right.
It's like while we're doing other things. It's like we're enjoying ourselves, meeting people, going places, hanging out. It's with friends. And, people are sending messages, doing offers, and it's just so easy. You're
it's
just
almost like
talking to people.
In a way, it is kind of a passive. I have to go home and ship like 65 items. That's not passive.
Right.
But to be able to be like, I'm working, but I'm also not working at the same time.
And, and we're selling things while we're here.
It's we did. Yep.
So I think that's, for people who are starting out, it is good to start to understand you can get to a point where you aren't always working to the bone.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can build up enough that...
and each of us, again, when I talk about the scavenger equation, we each have the equation of how much money we need to make.
Yeah.
So, we each have to figure out how many things in our store we need to keep to be able to generate that income.
Right, exactly.
So, we're here for 2 weeks, we go home for a week, and then we're going to be gone for another month.
Yeah.
And again, our experience has shown us we should probably be making the same amount as we normally do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what we love.
Which is crazy.
We couldn't do that forever.
No. You have to come back and ship eventually.
Well, ship, but also we need to get back to...
Yeah, listing.
A listing, too. And that's really, I think, when people say doing eBay, it's really the
listing.
A listing part is the part that feels like the real work,
right?
You know, where it's like it's not background work. It's not like I'm doing that while I'm doing something else.
Yeah, it's like, really you put your head down. Like I was thinking, I really need to list like the men's sweaters and jackets that we photographed.
Yep.
And I have to do it when we're in Europe. Like I have to do that because that is the time to do it. I don't have time before we leave. But it's just funny because it's like I do have to take a day to do that. I mean, whether I'm in a fancy coffee shop in Amsterdam or in the apartment we're staying at,
but I guess
it's got to get done.
But I guess that's the benefit of the way every person builds their store in different ways. The way we've done it is we do all these photos up front, and its measurements, put them in Google Docs, and then
everything's there.
We'll be able to do that.
Yeah, I can do it.
List from
you can list from anywhere.
Coffee shop in Amsterdam.
But then you're in Amsterdam and you're like, do I really want to just sit on my computer? But I mean, I found that to be true in New York. Like I actually had a bunch of podcasts I had to edit. And I did that, but I was like, I don't want to do anything else on the computer. I just want to go out, you know, so.
And then, the other thing we've done here is we've been scavenging,
Yep.
And again, it's really kind of like a natural extension of what we would do anyway. We talked about it. It's last week. We enjoy in the evening times. We take these walks.
Yeah. Look at garbage on the road.
We've gotten real good to learn it's New York has a website that tells you when the trash pickup is.
For each street.
And every evening we'll just go and check what streets are, the trash pickup is, and we'll just walk along the streets.
Just see what people left out.
And it's great, and we're enjoying a city.
Or like we'll go to a movie and then we're like, okay, let's crisscross these, this section of town. It's like, why not?
But, I mean, that is, I have to remind ourselves that is quote unquote work.
Yeah, that
because it does add to our business. It generates
income, yeah.
But at the same time, it doesn't feel like work, I mean, really.
If anyone told me going through the garbage was going to be my job, I wouldn't believe them.
But, that's the thing. Our activity in our eBay, it's business kind of waxes and wanes, Like, this is the waning part where we're just like... kind of the store is kind of a little bit on autopilot.
Yeah.
We're kind of tweaking it a bit, but the pipeline's pumping out.
I mean...
And then, like, when we come home from our other trip, and we're home for a wintertime, we'll get back to much more full-time kind of work.
You can be like, I am listing all week, You put your head down, you're listing.
Yeah, I mean, I got plenty of photographs to take, but, that's...
Yeah.
But I love that.
It feels very like after traveling, especially because we're going to be doing actually 2 jobs in 2 different places in a row. You come home and you really appreciate the pace of doing that kind of work. It's just, I remember the last time we came home because the last trip we had was actually pretty brutal work wise. It was quite a job,
right? Because we do a video work, so
it's video production, so it's like live, it's happening, it's in your face, it's 15 hours a day, it's very different. So when you come home, you're like, you're working, but you're like chilling out, working.
I think that's the thing too. I mean, I couldn't do this if we didn't enjoy it in one way or another. The good thing is, we can go home. And then finally, we're like focused on our eBay business, and we're listing and taking photos. I enjoy it, but then after a while, I get bored of it.
Yeah, you want to travel. You want to do something.
2, 3, 4 months.
Yeah. I think it's good to mix it up because then it, like we always say, if I was just doing video production or if I was just doing eBay, I would. It feels like a grind. I mean, it starts to be like, okay, same thing, different day.
But But the main thing to remember is the store is always open.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, it's for us. We never turn off our eBay store. The store these days, it doesn't go on vacation mode.
Yeah.
It's just simply changing the handling time. You know,
and whether customers like that or not, I mean, we can talk about that.
But they do.
Most do. But, you know, when we're going to Europe, that's exactly 30 days.
I mean, we're going to put our handling for our stores
30 days.
30 business days. Yeah. I guarantee you.
Yeah, we'll get cancellations.
See, it's funny. You say that, and it's negative thing. I'm going to say the positive thing. I guarantee you, people will buy. You know.
Oh yeah, you know? No, I mean, absolutely.
Like it will not be a problem for 98% of people.
It's actually kind of amazing. It's the smallest percentage of people that are like, oh, I can't wait.
Right.
I need this for a project next week.
And what happens is most people buy, you know, we'll, even if, you know, it says a handling time, we even send them a message, they don't read it, and then 3 weeks later they'll be like, where's my thing?
Yeah.
But it's still not a problem because they're like, oh, I didn't even read the message. It's no fine. Big deal. You know? It's been fine for 3 weeks, it's fine for another week.
And I'm like, I will ship, I promise.
So again, if you're thinking about running an eBay store full time, or if it's doing it, I mean, let's just all acknowledge that this is why we do what we do. Is that, you know, our thing is we like to travel. So but someone else's might be like they like to fish or something, and so they want to go on a big it's fishing trip every 3 months. They could do that. They
like to go on an ultra marathon.
They want to do that.
We know those
exactly.
people.
So, you know, that's a thing. So it's almost like if you could break up your eBay life, like every 3 months, if you're going to go on a big trip somewhere or whatever. Or,
like we've said, too, if this video job doesn't last forever, which we know it won't because no job lasts forever, that we would like to go scavenging like every 3 months. Like, go down to Austin, go wherever.
I just interviewed a couple of people that sell online.
Yeah.
And they do that. I mean, they like take these trips where they'll go, you know, to towns they've always wanted to go to, but they make it into a scavenging trip, you know, and that'd be fun.
That's a work trip. That's really, I mean, you're like, but it's so fun. Why does it count as work? Right. It's work. It's really great that your work is fun. Most people's work is not fun.
And we'll actually post that interview in September which is right around the corner. Okay, so let's do the numbers for this week. Again, this is a week where we have not been listing or really doing anything. This is our store just in kind of background autopilot. Mm-hmm. So we sold 36 items.
Nice. Yeah. And this is our main store.
Yep. This is our main store. We had a couple of slowish days, but it evened out. I feel like people are coming back. People are wanting to start to buy. And this is also early on Saturday, so it's not even the full Saturday. I expect to sell some more stuff. So the total sales was about over $1,300.
Yay!
Which is good.
Yeah,
I mean, this, you know, that number for us it feels good because we've been having some like $800 weeks. Although when the holiday season starts, you'll hear our numbers being like the 2,000, 3,500. I
mean, there are some days during fourth quarter where you'll make $1,000 in a day, and you'll be like, "Whoa!"
Right. Exactly.
But as we say, it's not always like that.
Yeah. So our average price was about $36. Yep. Again, I mean, it wasn't like super awesome, but
highest price sold was $180, and I will take all the credit for that sale.
We will talk about things we sold. And then in our second store, our kind of smaller experimental store, where we have 49 items, we sold 9 items for about $400.
That's a great number.
Seriously, I mean, it's really. I mean, that
supplements our other numbers by a great amount.
I don't really. I again, I still haven't really figured out what the experiment is teaching us, other than just the fact that it seems like you can just start a store and that store will also sell. You know?
As long as your stuff is quality, cool, weird stuff.
Seriously. I mean... Okay, I do want to say, because we've been talking a lot about shipping overseas, global. Do you join the global shipping program? Do you exclude some countries? So in our main store, we sold 36 items. 9 of those were global shipping, so almost a third.
Yeah.
In our second store, we sold 9 items. 3 of those.
So it was exactly a third.
It was exactly a third.
That's usually our number. We've said that since the beginning. Between 25 and 30% of our sales all the time are international.
Right, and
that seems to be
they
true.
Buy through global shipping.
I love global shipping program.
And, thanks to some people's help, we were in this experiment on our second store, the smaller one, because it's easier to change everything.
Because there's only 400 items.
We did try to do people's exception, where we accepted Canada from the global shipping program, but it's no one's bought anything.
So I don't know. But I did look at our listings, and I could see that Canada was out of the global shipping program. Yeah. Although I will say I didn't, because of bulk editing, I'm going to get real nerdy here. Some things are not first class, so I was like, some things are heavier. I didn't know how to bulk edit and be like, put first class for the things that can be. So I was like, priority everything. So I don't know if that helps, because it's priority still expensive to Canada.
Right. But I mean, the big thing that people in Canada say, and I will accept this as a good excuse, for them the global shipping program sucks, is because they have to pay to ship it to Kentucky, then they have to pay again. So,
not just like to Canada.
Right. So things we sold. I mean, just let's also be clear. The 2 week we've been kind of on vacation, we've sold 68 items. So, I mean, that's a lot to ship, and we'll talk about that soon, too. But that's amazing to me. It's
a lot.
It's 50 items in our main store and 18 items in our second store. And, I mean, this is a good example of how it works. So after 2 weeks, we're starting to get some questions about, like, where's my item? Just we said, even though buyers were told that it was going to be slow to ship, and we tell them, thank you for buying, as it says on our listing. We have this will ship on whatever
X date,
August 26th.
Yeah,
but as most people are like, oh, thanks. The good news is, because we changed our handling time, that protects us. So
protects us from item not received cases.
Right.
They never shipped this. I never received it. eBay's like, it'll stop them from opening.
Or every once in a while, we'll have someone leave like a neutral or even a negative feedback, but they say, this item took a long time to ship.
And I can call eBay.
And you can get that taken away because it's like...
my handling time. I've had that. I've had that happen.
Okay, so like Ryan said, our highest item, and this is all praise goes to you.
Yes, very
For
much.
$180, we sold a vintage laptop.
From 1991.
And it's like one of those big, chunky laptops.
Like MS-DOS. It's like running... Actually, it's called like American BIOS or AmBIOS.
It's one of those things where she picked it up and I was like, this
and you know
is
what?
Junk.
I was like super hacker. I like got it to start up. I like fixed the OS so it like started up on the startup screen. I don't even know how. You know what? I watched some YouTube videos and I was like, so I figured it out. It worked. It has a color screen.
I mean, probably at the time it was like top of the line.
In 91? Oh my God. So
how did you know that, I mean, there's always old junky stuff everywhere. How did you know that was worth something?
I mean, I don't find old laptops from the 90s ever.
Yeah?
So I was like, this is something. Because like having a laptop, like my first laptop I didn't buy till like the year 2000. Right. So to have one of those older... I mean, if it was a Macintosh, I'd be all over that.
So do you think if we just started to look for old computers, we would sell them?
I don't think that's what it is. Okay. I think I was in the store, and I was able to turn it on with the cord. Right. The battery was dead. And I was like, okay, that's a really good sign, because those vintage computer hacker nerds... Mm-hmm. as we've said before, people are into vintage computing. I know people that are into
So it's, what do you think
computing.
the person's going to do?
I have
with
no
it?
idea.
Okay.
They are they're in Sweden or something. So it's some like nerd who wants to do like a who knows? It doesn't matter.
Yep.
He paid $180 for it.
Yeah.
I think I had it up for like $250 with make offer $180. I was like, yep.
Yeah. And that probably took.
I paid $5 for it.
That probably took, what, 8 months?
It took a while.
Yeah.
It's on our bookshelf at home, and I looked at it before we left, and I was like, is this thing ever going to sell? The second I got that offer, yes.
So the other interesting thing we sold, we talked about it before, we had this, and this was me.
Yeah.
It's not the best thing. For $20 at a yard sale, I bought this big, it's basically a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
But it's like this old Philco
radio.
A radio.
Tube amp radio.
You know, it goes up to your above.
Yeah.
It's your waist.
It's a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
Like
it's
you said.
beautiful wood. You know, all that. The radio itself is just the tubes still work, but a lot of it's rusted. I mean, the radio did not work.
Yeah.
I bought it thinking like a hipster would redo it.
Yeah.
We had someone make us an offer for $100. Then they realized they had to figure out how to ship it
to Louisiana.
It was going to be too expensive, so he canceled it. Just last night, someone else made an offer of $100. We accepted that, and he wrote to us, is knowing, he's like, I'm a truck driver.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on your interstate. Can you meet me there? So it's going to be like a half-hour drive. I was like, yes. We aren't making crazy money on the sale. We're just happy it's being sold.
Yeah, and that someone's picking it up.
But my idea is, and I'll ask him, I mean, why he made the same exact offer. And he seemed to kind of know. I'm assuming there's a forum of old age radio people.
Yeah.
And this guy who tried to buy it said, here's a great deal, but you have to pick it up. And
someone was willing to do that. See, that's why eBay stats would be so helpful, because if you found out, oh, there's this old radio whatever forum, you could go on there and be like, hey, I'm willing to do a deal, someone's got to pick it up, you know, let me tell you more about it. And it's like, that's basic marketing.
Maybe eBay just doesn't want to encourage people to go out and look on the web, because offline. I could also go there and be like, I have this thing, it's on eBay, but
just throw me some cash.
Give me some money. Yeah,
but you could do that anyway. Like, this guy could still, I want him to pay by PayPal, but he could still pay by cash.
Another thing we sold, you know, this is totally is random. So, you know, when we go out and buy shoes, especially from like at yard sales or flea markets, they often have the stretchers inside of them.
Yeah.
There's like a wooden,
like shoe tree.
It's like a shaper. You know? And over the years, we've just collected all kinds of them.
A big box of them.
And, you know, some of them are kind of nice. Some of them are random. We just made a big pile of them.
Yeah.
How many do we have?
I think it's 36.
36 of them.
I don't know if it's 36 or 36 pairs.
Pairs, yeah.
Okay. So it's a lot.
And we sold them for $70.
Yeah, and so I was super lazy initially about this. Do you remember? I didn't even spread them out. I just was took a picture of the box, and you're like, Ryan, you need to spread them because there's so many.
Yeah.
So we did spread them out and take a photo of them, and they're really heavy. It's like a big box.
Right.
So.
And actually, we walked by like a shoe repair place just the other day.
Yeah.
And they had a pair for sale, like
a wooden pair.
It's brand new kind.
Yeah.
And they're only $12.99. So it's not like, that's one reason why we didn't sell them by themselves, because they don't really sell for a lot by themselves.
I've sold some that are vintage, they look like they're really old,
right?
And
from
they're
the
decoration.
30s. Yeah, those ones people like to decorate.
Yeah, but these ones
are
just you know, some are plastic, some are wood.
I don't know. You can talk about this one. We sold this mid-century teapot.
Yeah,
for $40.
so no, it actually sold for $30.
Oh, okay.
I had found this. It's an enamel. You know, it looks like a Dansk to me. I'm so surprised it's unmarked. It looks like it's a white enamel, Swedish design type thing, Scandinavian design with a teak handle, and it was so cool. And it was in one of our boxes of Doom, just in there buried, and I couldn't find any like it, but it was the highest watched item in our second store. There were like 30 watchers.
So why didn't you put a higher price? I mean,
because it was unmarked. Okay. It was just like, you know, it looked used. You know, it didn't look fantastic. It wasn't marked Dansk. If it was Dansk, I'd put it up a lot higher. But then someone in Sweden bought it.
I mean, that is an example. Like, so our second store, it's filling it with a lot of these items from our piles of doom. These kind of what we've been talking about are like a lower price items or items we've just put aside for a while now. But those things are selling, kind of like this tea kettle.
Yeah, this tea kettle, and just now, like 2 seconds before we pressed record, this like fruit press thing, like to make like fruit jam or whatever, that sold for $40. And it's just this random thing that I bought for like $1.
So piles of death.
It does pay off.
Bits of life can come from death. So this, you know, I said a couple weeks ago before we came to It's New York, I was gonna make us a challenge.
Yeah.
Can we find stuff on the street for free, put items online, and using our phone
while we're here,
and do auctions, and sell them and ship them from here? And can we make enough to like pay for our trip?
Yep.
So we did do all that. We did not make enough to pay for our trip.
No, not even close. But we put 7 things up.
Right.
5 of them sold, which is cool.
And we made about $75.
That's not bad.
Most of the stuff were things we got from the street. We had bought one thing for 50 cents, and we bought one thing for $5. So, but we had found these bags of clothes we had talked
designer
about.
Nice clothes.
You know, like jeans. And again, it was, you know, this is again, I know people who are into auctions will say why we did it wrong. Whatever,
sure.
Fine. But, you know, these auctions, you know, they were ending at like 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I know it's supposed to be 7 o'clock.
And it was on a Thursday.
Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, and we got some bids on it. We started them all at $9.99, and we were getting, you know, we sold things for $12, $18. One was $22. You know, so it wasn't bad. But these are things where I know if we had them at home and were willing to hold on to them, we would have sold like these jeans for $50.
Yeah, 50 plus. So, but we didn't want to hold on to them.
Yeah, but we didn't want to like haul all this stuff home, and it was an experiment. So, and I'll take $75.
And what was fun for me was to figure out how to do shipping in New York.
I like that it was fun. That's good.
No, because like for me, obviously, we are at a house that has a printer, so I just print my invoice, print my label. But then I'm like, I have to go to a post office I've never been to. I did the ship from zip code here. My return address is our address, but the ship from zip code, so they get credit. And I'm basically paying that post office to do it. And they knew that. They noticed that.
And it's cool, too. We you know, as we talked about, there are boxes everywhere on the street because people are, like, getting stuff on Amazon. Businesses are, like, they put all their garbage out front. Yeah. So we could easily just go around and pick the best boxes.
I'm like, I need a box this size. Let's walk around the block and find one. And we did. And I got a couple Tyvek envelopes from the post office. We sold 2 pairs of jeans. So those went in Tyvek. Super easy. Actually, I was like such a shipping nerd. I was like, okay, I'm going to put the Tyvek in the blue box on the corner. Because there's some controversy as to whether you can do that or not.
Right.
Because on the post office box, it's like, due to heightened security, you can only put 13-ounce items in here. But what I was reading online is they just mean if you have stamps. If you have more than that, for a stamped item, I'm like, who does that? I don't know. You're supposed to bring it to the post office. But this has a prepaid label, so that's totally accepted. So I threw those in the blue box. They're fine. They're scanned. They're like on their way there. It's not a big deal. And then the other stuff Jay helped me bring to the counter.
Yeah.
And the lady was so nice.
Yeah, no, it was nice.
She scanned them. She gave me a receipt.
And we're lucky, too, because there was a post office just
a block
away.
A block and a half.
Yeah, it was good. But it does remind me, those of you who live in urban areas and can't get, like, a pickup. Yeah, I bet that's, like, that's whole tough thing, you know? Like, every day you have to go and...
You gotta schlep.
time it. Like, we went there when there was if no one in there was great, but we've been in there. It's before where there's been a whole.
I made sure it was after lunch. I was like, let's just go at 2.
We sold some more. It's mini Tonka, like I don't know, Indian girl boots. Or, what do you?
Yeah, I don't know. They're just like suede.
Yeah, they look like a Native American.
Yeah. They're like they've got fringe on them and stuff.
And we sold those for $80. The cool thing about that is
we sold 2 pairs.
Right.
Yeah.
The cool thing about that is that those were from Amsterdam. It was part of our haul where we talked about this. We went to this flea market and we were just finding
they were everywhere.
All these mini Tonka boots. We were buying them for $5.
$5 and lower. Like, right. I couldn't believe it because a lot of times at yard sales or whatever in the States, people are like, oh, I want like $30 for those. Yeah. So it was great. We got like 5 pairs. Since
we're about to go back to Amsterdam, we'll go back to that same flea market.
Holland.
Yeah. We're thinking about if there's any new strategies to scavenge, because last year we kind of really overloaded ourselves. I mean, it was a fun challenge. We had like all these crazy bags.
Yeah, we did.
Taking advantage of the free bags on the planes, but it was a lot. I don't want to overload ourselves. So things like this are good because they just smash down and
Yeah, so trying to get stuff that's like manageable.
And then the last thing we'll talk about things it's resold. It's interesting to me. We sometimes find these vintage sewing items,
Yeah, like a couple of things that we've found recently are like these little they call them hams.
It's a little ham.
It's the shape of a ham, and it's like I don't know. Honestly, I'm like, what do people use?
It's so when someone, I guess, does a pleat.
Yeah,
they can iron this pleat, and it's like this kind of hard fabric in the shape of a ham.
Yeah,
and so I guess so it curves
with the fabric.
Anyway,
we sold one of those.
Finding those, and then also we found a new in box, like when a seamstress is doing a hem on a skirt. It's like this thing
it's like a ruler. Okay, stop. It's like a ruler. It's
like we're talking about like ancient items.
Yeah, so it's like this ruler that helps measure a hem. The end. It's new in box. There's 1 million of them on eBay, but I sold it global shipping. So I might have been one of the... And I priced it higher. I priced it at $30. And a lot of people are like, $10, $9.
I think...
So that's what I'm trying to say. We had international shipping, and that's why I couldn't...
I'll tell you what I'm trying to say.
Well,
I'll tell you what I'm trying to say. I think it's interesting because these things are fun to sell because it's nice to think that people still do this stuff.
Yes.
Absolutely. There's still someone out there that's actually sewing and making clothes, and that these items we buy them as junk. Like, nobody wants these things. No one knows what they are.
They don't care.
We're buying them for 50 cents that it goes to a person who can appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's awesome. Okay, so customer issues.
So we talked about that big It's Radio that got canceled, but it's rebought. So.
It's funny because we put that in after the guy canceled it. Like, we put it on our little outline.
Right.
And then I got to just be like, and then it resold. Yep. So that's kind of cool.
So, okay, international sales. We talked about this. This is a continuing story, and it's a lesson for all of us.
So, let me go into this very quickly. When we first started our second store, I failed to realize that global shipping was not turned on for the first day. Of course, the very first sale I had was to France. And I looked at it and I was like, why isn't this global shipping? Oh, damn, turn it on.
And we shipped it...
We shipped it priority.
So it's supposed to have tracking on it, but it ends...
It ended in the U.S. This is why I love global shipping.
Yep.
So they're like, I didn't get it. A month later, I didn't get it. So finally, they open a PayPal case against me, and it goes in their favor. Item not received.
And PayPal pulls the
money. It's like $60.
But it's news is, like people say, if you put Ship Saver insurance, they will cover the cost.
They will cover item not received, international. So I have been going through the paperwork with them, and one of the issues is part of their paperwork is like, oh, item not received, great. Have the buyer prove they didn't receive it by filling out this link of stuff. And I'm like, but my problem is this person's mad at me.
I mean, we tried it. We send it to its buyer, but the buyer has its motivation to do it because they've already gotten their money. They're probably unhappy they didn't get their item. I mean, why are they?
Yeah, they're like, screw you.
And they live in France, and this thing's in English, and so it's like,
Yeah. So the good thing is, you can upload documents. Like, I uploaded a screenshot of the case, PayPal closed the case, blah, blah, blah. So I called yesterday, because I was like...
ShipSaver.
I called ShipSaver, and a person will answer. And I was like, okay, here's my situation. I explained everything just now. This person opened a case, they closed a case, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, great. So take a screenshot of the original message that they didn't receive it. Take a screenshot of you sending them the message like, hey, can you fill out this URL? Which I did just like 2 days ago. So I took a screenshot of that, and I took a screenshot of PayPal, the whole PayPal case, and how PayPal refunded them. Look, I've already paid out for this. And she said, that's going to help you move this along and give you the proof. So I'm just waiting to hear from them. But she seemed very positive. She's like, if you have all the evidence.
And so my question is, someone on the blog, I think it was Marcy, said a ShipSaver will pay for the shipping too, if you put the cost of the shipping in the declared value.
Which is what I do.
You do?
Oh, all the time. Because they'll cover it. Because they say they'll cover it.
So that's
when you fill out the form for I'm buying insurance, they add it all up for you, and you're like, yep.
So I just want to use this as a lesson when we talk on the blog about, people hating global shipping, so it's okay, just send it priority, But this is an example of many of them get there, but when it doesn't get there, this is the kind of thing that happens. Eventually, I know we're going to be made whole. We'll get our money back, but this is the work you have to go through, and this is why we're like global shipping. I love global shipping.
I know buyers are like, it's so
send
expensive.
It and forget it.
But it's like, it's too expensive, and then there's no guarantee it gets to the person. Yeah. I mean, majority of the time it does.
I mean, and what kills me is that I know people are honest, but that person in France could have gotten the hat.
Yep.
And just there's no way, as we know, there's nothing that says delivered. We even went in the French post office website and put in the tracking number to see if it picked up there.
And it didn't.
It didn't. So it really, there's too many like open-ended things that we have no control over, and we don't like that.
Right. That's why I love seeing it delivered to Kentucky. That's my favorite thing.
Okay,
so what did we do?
What did we do this past week as full-time eBayers?
In New York on vacation.
So I just want to talk real quick about how much we've spent in New York. As frugal people, we like to look at how much we spend.
I was actually surprised.
And to try and figure out how can we enjoy our lives to the fullest without spending crazy amounts of money.
And we were very frugal. Right. I mean, there were so many nights where I was like, let's go out. And I'm like, no, actually, let's just eat at home and then we'll go see a movie.
Yeah, so we brought a lot of food from home. We cooked a lot of our own meals. Yeah. I mean, we did not really eat out ever except for...
Rarely eat.
So things we spent its money on were on movies.
Yep.
We probably spent about $200
on movies.
Watching films because here... It costs about $15 to go to a movie.
It's expensive. Oh my God!
So when we go see a flick, it's like $30. But you know what? It's for us that feeds us. We love to watch its movies, and we love to be in its New York to watch movies that very often don't even end up on Netflix just because they don't.
Yeah, they're super independent. So I had a blast seeing movies.
Pizza.
We didn't eat that much pizza because we're watching our calories, but we did. Pizza's also super cheap.
You gotta eat slices of pizza.
Yeah.
Coffee,
yep.
Ryan doesn't really do this much, but it's when I'm out and about. I love to get a nice cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So that's a good $3. We did go. There's a farmer's market in at Union Square.
Yep.
A couple blocks from us.
We spent money on that a couple times.
And we go there on Mondays and get like a big bag of like nice cheese and bread and vegetables.
Right.
And, okay. We spent about $700
total.
Maybe even...
I can't believe
maybe
that.
even $800 just on fun stuff.
But that's 2 weeks. So.
Yep. And that's also like a Metro card.
Oh, Metro cards. Yeah, we were doing Metro cards. That's true.
And then we spent about $600. We bought inventory.
On inventory.
And we'll talk about that in a bit. So
yeah,
even
that seems high too. People are like, what?
Even though we were finding stuff on the streets and that was like the fun things, we did find some like kind of cool things that cost a bit of cash, money, but it's a bit of an experiment. Like, can we flip it for
all
more?
Those things are tax write-offs, so it's no big deal.
So we were spending about an average of $50 a day in like fun money.
And there were some days where we wouldn't spend like hardly anything, but then the next day it was like a big spending day. We bought refilled the Metro card, went to the farmer's market, and saw a movie. It's like,
Yeah.
New York's expensive.
Yeah.
And we are cheap, so that's like... I mean, we were talking about it. We were like, if someone else, a regular person, came here... And actually, we bought a couple tickets to shows. We went to like little indie shows. And we went to Monday Night Magic.
And then it's like this little like talent show thing. Just at
UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade. Fun. That was only $5.
Yeah, we did go to this cool it's magic show. It was
it's
awesome.
called Monday Night Magic, and it was hilarious, and it was so fun. And there were all these kids in the I didn't expect there to be little kids there. It was so funny. I had a blast. That was great.
Okay, and one thing we did, it's this week too, we went to an eBay meetup. We were invited to...
This was our first eBay meetup.
Yeah, really. It was like, there's a group of like, it's people from, it's New York and it's New Jersey that meet up and they talk about eBay, and they invited us to come, and it was very informal.
It was really fun. It was
and
really
we want to thank
Anastasia
for inviting us.
Anastasia.
She was awesome.
She's the perfect meetup group leader because she's super enthusiastic, loves hanging out and talking to people. I love meeting people like that because I'm like, that's a great person, community person.
And it was just really interesting hearing how the different people sold on eBay because, in how they store stuff. That's the most
Find
expensive.
Stuff and store stuff. Yeah, in New York, in tiny apartments. Right. That's amazing to hear.
And some of them talked about, like, they were very enthusiastic when we said, did you find stuff on the streets? And, like, there were these two ladies that really went deep into it about how they're finding stuff.
Yeah.
One of them lived in a building. I mean, people all live in buildings. But she says she's got a good relationship with her super.
Right.
And he's, like, feeding her stuff,
Because if she lives in a big enough building, there's, like, a recycling and trash room down in the basement. And she's like, oh, I go there all the time. And my super will pull stuff for me. Like, he knows that I sell.
Right.
So that's, like... And they said... They were like, the last month, these two women who are friends, they were like, yeah, we decided to just like walk around at night and find stuff. And they're like, we've found so much stuff in the last month.
Right.
So.
And one guy sold clothes and, they're spending much more than we do on clothing items.
Yes.
But they're here in it's New York, and they seem like they have much more access to really higher end and like really high end
more
brands.
Frequently. Like we'll find higher end stuff where we live, but not like all the time.
Well, I mean, like higher end for us is like
J. Crew.
Here they're finding like stuff that shows up on a
runway.
It's runway.
Yeah. I mean, J. Crew. They're like. That's like Walmart brand to us, Exactly. I'm like, what? J. Crew's so fancy.
So, and it was good too. One guy, he said that his experience in his life was in retail, and he was still it's new to eBay, but he assured people in a retail, January, February, and
July and August.
Those are the slowest months. So
so we were like, okay, good. Yeah. He's like, that's normal.
And then, so this is where we spent all of our money.
Most of our money, yeah.
We went to sample sales.
Yeah, so Brian from Grandma's Treasures, I think that's Grandma's Treasures, right? Yep. Which is so funny because like that sounds like such a country kitsch name, but and his stuff is really high end.
I think he lives in Manhattan, but I don't know.
Yeah, or like he just like moved, but whatever. He works in Manhattan. So he had mentioned that there was a Jonathan Adler, which is this like housewares and like furniture guy, designer, that he was having this like blowout sample sale, and I was like, is that still going on? He's like, no, but here's a link to a website. There's a bunch of places where you can find sample sales. So I'm looking through it, and there's lots of clothes and bridal stuff, and I'm like, none of that is interesting to me. So there was this one place that did jewelry design for people, and what caught my eye is they're like from $5 up. So I was like, that's interesting that they were like, we have cheap stuff
I mean,
too,
so it's in Midtown, it's Manhattan, it's in one of those
fashion district.
It was kind of one of those like industrial like buildings where it's like not a pretty place, but you know, so what happens is like someone rich very often comes to them and says, I want to design a jewelry line.
Right.
You know, here's some photos of things I like, and then they'll
make a prototype.
And they make a line for these people.
Yeah,
you know?
and they do it for major designers too.
And so I had heard about this because, you know, I had lived in, it's New York, but it's never come to them. But these sample sales are basically these, like, kind of high-end stores that sell, like, these...
The samples.
As prototypes or
runway
samples.
Stuff that was just made for the runway.
Stuff they're just pulling out of its closets, and they just sell them. The thing is, they're high-end. I mean, they're really nice.
They can be high-end. They can be, like, major designers. And we were excited because, I mean, there were some designers I had heard of, but some that I hadn't, but I looked up. And
Escargot.
Escada. Oh my God, you're embarrassed.
So Ryan's the one that really knows the jewelry. I was kind of the guy.
I am an amateur. I know a little bit, you know, but
I'm even less than an amateur.
Yeah. But the thing was, I found a couple pieces that I didn't know who the designer was until she told me. And they were gorgeous, and that's what caught my eye.
And we had a really fun time because actually the owner of this business kind of walked us around. It was just in a small its room, and she was very proud of the items they had made.
She's telling us the designers.
She was telling us how they made them.
Yeah.
What
I was nervous that it would be like snobby world, like, you know, people wouldn't even look at us when we walked in the door. This lady let us in. She's originally from Kentucky. Like, we were talking about the South because that's where we live, and it was really fun. And we spent, how much did we spend?
So we spent almost $600. You know, $500.
We did. So it was $260 and then $150.
Right. Oh, sorry. So about $400.
So we spent about $400 there for several pieces that I'm hoping will sell for a lot of money, because I might be the only person that has.
Yeah, I mean, we bought some, you know, a pile of like things that cost $5 and $10.
Yeah, a small pile.
Cool little things.
Yeah.
But then as Ryan bought, and I support it because I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
2 really beautiful
necklaces.
It's necklaces for $150 each.
So we spent like $300 on those.
But these are ones where, again, this is going to be our experiment. Can we sell these for over $1,000?
Yeah, like one of them is a prototype. You know, once I list them, you guys will see it, and once I sell it, we'll definitely talk about it. But it was a prototype for a very high-end designer. The other one is also a very high-end designer, but it wasn't a prototype, but it's the only one available. Right. So I'm like hoping I can do a high sale on those. So it's a fun experiment.
Yeah.
It was a very fun experience.
It was a fun afternoon. It's meeting the person.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I like finding unique things.
What I thought was interesting, so she had like not a swatch book, but she had this binder.
It was like a portfolio.
Where she was like, so we had like Michael Kors come, and he took a photo of a necklace he saw at its museum. He brought it to us. Here's its photo he sent us.
Yeah.
And we made something based on that.
Just like that.
And to me, I'm just like, that's so interesting. It's like, these guys aren't even like making it themselves.
They're just like photo.
They're just like walking around taking photos of this thing. Just make me this. Go for it. Come on.
You know what?
I mean, he's making bundles of money because he's created a reputation. But it's almost like he's just
He's got the eye. He's got the name. I mean, he's on a television show that's been on for like 15 years.
And, a marketing. I guess, I just always assume like a guy like that's like, he's got a workshop and he's like designing stuff himself. And,
I mean...
and maybe he does, but it was interesting in this case,
There are some designers like Isabel Toledo, who we've actually met in person.
Yep.
I will say. We did a video project with him and her husband, and they were incredible. She designed, I'll just say for people who don't know, she designed the inauguration dress for Michelle Obama, the first inauguration. If you look it up, it's this gorgeous, amazing, unique design, and we got to do a video project with her a few years ago. But her and her husband, I think that they're like that they're like... Yeah, they're super hands-on.
They're probably, it's much more small. It's Michael Kors has like a big company with stores and Yeah.
Anyway, so that's New York.
Okay, wake up, people.
Yeah,
wake up.
Wake up.
That's like people who don't know anything about it's fashion talking about fashion. So.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, let's talk about the fashion world. I just got junk out of the trash.
Okay, quickly. This is gonna be kind of interesting. We're going to talk about our rental property, and then we'll never talk about it again.
Okay.
So this coming week, it's this past week's, we had someone rent the entire week.
Now, for the 2 weeks we've been gone, there's been someone a week and someone a week, which is perfect.
Right. So we booked it the whole time. Yep. Our friend has taken care of it. So far, so good. The person that stayed, it's last week, said he had a great time, and the same way with... It's this week, and this is as close to passive income as we'll probably ever get.
Yeah, even though when we're at home, we're cleaning maniacs.
But while we're gone, it's nice to have this piece of income. Okay, the reason why we'll never talk about this again on this podcast is Ryan decided...
to start another podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where...
Am I crazy?
We're doing a bit of an experiment. We like talking about our Airbnb business, but we understand, like, maybe... we want to talk about it more than maybe we can here to make it interesting. So we started a new podcast.
Yes, it is called Shampoo and Booze.
Yep, this is... And what a great name.
What a weird name. And the reason we call it that is because those are the two things that we often find that people leave in the rental house when we come. They bring their bottle of shampoo. They don't want to bring it back on the plane or in their car.
They buy a bottle of wine that they don't drink, or they buy, a case of beer and they leave half of it.
And those, for us, are fun things. Actually, for me only, are fun things to find because I'm the only one with hair.
Yep.
But I love finding fancy shampoo often.
Yep.
Because you guys know.
And also, as we learned, obviously, when you make a podcast, it's not to call it things like eBay Scavengers or Airbnb Talk or something, because we want to make it a little...
cease and desist
we want to keep it a bit of...
Yeah, so we're having fun, like, going deep into information, because now that's definitely a part of our life.
and we've actually recorded 2 podcasts.
Yep.
And we will link to it on the blog.
Yep, and it's shampooandbooze.com.
Yep, and if you're interested in following along with our Airbnb business, that, we bought this farmhouse with eBay money.
And we fixed it up with eBay money.
So, it's maybe just be an inspiration, a beautiful inspiration for people wanting to do more than just
So, over on shampooandbooze.com, you can subscribe. Again, we're on iTunes, we're on YouTube. You can subscribe through email if you're interested. And that'll be more of, like, the rental talk.
Okay, so let's talk about some news. We try every week to things we find online that we think are interesting. About selling online. This week, there's that big story in the New York Times about Amazon.
Yes.
About what it's like to work there. And not just for people in the warehouses, mainly focusing on, like, the white collar...
like the
workers.
Corporate people in Seattle.
And, everyone was kind of talking about it. And actually, Beach Thrifter on the blog had posted it there, which is good. But, it just looks like Amazon, it's controversial because, like, that's what you wanted at a business is, like, people really into it and putting all their time in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it feels a bit abusive and, like, really, one reason why we don't like to work at corporations is like, God, it just does not sound fun where,
Yeah, if you read the article, you're like, oh, that's why I sell crap on eBay.
People getting cancer and then just getting basically pushed out because they're no longer productive. So
like the company becomes your life. Like only the people that move up are the people who like sacrifice their life for the company. Yeah. Which is different. Like if you've ever known someone that worked at Google or read about it, it's like this amazing techie nerd playground with amazing free food. And
I think, because it's not every place is a tech company. I just think it's sad because it's kind of shows how these days businesses just see workers as numbers. It's just data, how productive are you?
Yeah.
And there's no loyalty and, there's no... I don't know. It seems like that's becoming a theme in American workplaces,
Right.
And that's no fun.
It just feels crappy.
It's definitely not like
work there.
Yeah. Anyway, Mark sent me a link to, and this has been happening for a while. Goodwill is opening its boutiques.
Oh, really?
And I've seen some of those. Like these it's boutique places where they take the nicest stuff. But this specifically, like in California, they're building them to aim more at like hipsters.
Huh.
A lot of its boutiques, as we've seen, have been kind of like, for like older people, like collectibles and like...
Right, and like office clothes and stuff like that.
And this is specifically like pulling out stuff that hipsters would like,
That's interesting. So where is that happening? In LA?
California, yeah.
That's funny.
And all these links we will put on the blog. Also, I'm just going to throw this out there. We had a Scavenger, a trash shelf from England. He emailed us and said he's going to be in Chicago, I guess soon. It's next couple weeks, and he was asking me if we knew anyone in Chicago that he could go scavenging with.
Oh, interesting! Show him some, or point him towards like here's some cool places.
Or just might want to hang out. He said he brought an extra suitcase that he can fill up.
That's the right.
So he's looking for a place to go to get like collectibles and kind of weird stuff.
Cool. So if people want to comment on the blog or
either that or just email us from the blog and we will put you in touch. It's with him if you want to meet a nice English guy,
A bloke, English bloke.
Yep, a bloke.
Yep. Okay. The things we learned in the comments. Now, I had made a comment about shipping in flat rate, and there was a call about shipping flat rate envelopes with boxes inside, and we got many comments, many emails about this box called the Scotty Stuffer, which is specifically made to be put in a flat rate envelope.
And there's even a video where the guy shows how it works. And, because as the post office says, if it fits, it ships.
Right, exactly. It's funny? One of the things I sold on our little experiment, we sold this rug that we found in the garbage. It was clean. I vacuumed it and made sure it was all good. And I was able to put that rug in a medium flat rate box.
Wow.
And it shipped for $10.65. So flat rate is awesome.
So, last week when we talked about people that put the boxes in the poly mailers, you didn't seem that impressed. Is that not something you use?
I think because more likely what I like to do is get a box that goes in a poly mailer that I can ship first class. That's my ultimate thing. Those Scotty Stuffers would be perfect for those. So for me, I'm like, I don't ship delicate stuff in a flat rate box anyway, because I'm like paranoid about stuff. I know everyone's like, you could do it. I'm just like, I charge up £1 and I put it in a coffee mug or whatever. So I need to just watch the video, and I'm also cheap as hell. So I'm like, I don't want to buy extra boxes,
Yep. And like we said, with everyone's help, we did make an exception for Canada.
Yes.
In our global shipping program,
on
features,
our second store.
So we haven't yet gotten a sale yet to Canada, but we'll see. But what's interesting is, like, I don't know, it's like even if you turn it on, it's not like there's like a rush of people trying to buy stuff. So we'll see.
Okay, so our upcoming week, we have 1 week between now and when we leave for Europe. So it's a very concentrated week.
We're taking an Amtrak today to go back home.
Yep.
It's a good 6-hour trip, right? Or is it more?
It's about 5 hours.
5 hours. And then we're home, and we leave next Saturday. We hop on another plane. Again, I've got to be so grateful. It's such a luxury. It's like, what a life. I love it. I don't want to sound like a tired, over-pampered dude.
You don't.
It's
we're not. It's just we try to juggle lots of business things happening.
So it's this week. It's a lot of, number one, packing. We need to deal with some stuff with our rental house to get that. It's ready, and we're cleaning it for a couple people, and we need to work with the guy who takes care of our place while we're gone, just to make sure he can handle it for a month.
Yeah, I got to print out a schedule for him.
A lot of tying up at loose ends. We're going to the dentist. I think that's really cool. Like, we did not go to the dentist for a long time,
and I paid for it. Trust me, I had to get a fake tooth.
So, as full-time eBayers, we really encourage people to get health insurance, get dental insurance.
Go for your cleanings, 6-month cleanings.
Yeah, so it's good.
People.
It's definitely important.
Okay, so now we're going to listen to some voicemails and read some emails. You can always call us and leave a voicemail, a question, or a comment. And the phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hey, Jay and Ryan, this is Mark Tipton out in Arizona. Have a comment. A few episodes back, they had another question about the app only showing 600 items. While it's not the best, you can always go to the bottom of your app. I have the iPhone app, so if you tap on your user ID at the bottom of the screen, it'll take you to another page where it'll show you items for sale. And there, as you scroll down, it'll populate your entire store. So you'll have to click on each item to see who's watching it, or how many watchers you had, or how many views. But it is the workaround I found for being able to view all your items on your app. Hope you're enjoying New York City, and thanks for all your shows. Bye.
Wow, that's cool. I did not realize you could do that, so I'm going to try that out if I'm ever wanting to look at my full store on the app, which sometimes I do.
Yeah, it's like I've told Ryan, I think that, maybe those of us that have larger stores, over 600 items, I think we're probably more on the tail end of what most people are like. So, if you're a person is making... if you're a techie and you're making a tool, you're normally making it for what will work for most people.
And for buyers.
And for buyers,
it's not
too.
like...
Right. But it is cool if we can see more.
The reason I think that people want to see their whole store is because they want to see how many watchers and stuff there are. Yeah. So... I think that's kind of the problem. If you have to click through to the item to see how many watchers, it doesn't really help you.
I know, as we've talked about, we will lie in bed before going to sleep, and we will just sit there on our phones just going through our stores just to see, remember that thing we listed 4 months ago? There's 2 people watching.
Yeah.
Maybe the price is too high. I don't know. Talk about that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Okay, so we have an email.
Yeah, we have it's more of a comment or a story. We have a woman that said that her son, is getting a little bit older, and she realized that she could get him into her eBay, its business, and he's 14, he started coming along, it's with her and helping her scavenge.
Nice.
And he had a particular eye because he's finding things that he knows that people his age want, something she might not have known herself, and so she actually helps him put these things on eBay and make its money, and then he can use that money to buy the things he wants.
Right.
So, number one, that's a cool thing to do instead of like giving an allowance or, him getting a job with someone else for small amounts of cash. She's teaching him how to do that. But then she also, it's mentioned, which is interesting, she notices that quote unquote rich and famous people, it seems like the new big thing is these rich and famous people have multiple streams of income. So a sports star will have like
an endorsement.
Endorsements. He's selling shoes and cologne and T-shirts and all this stuff. And she's teaching him he can do the same thing. So even when her son gets a job, he can also be doing things on eBay as well.
Yeah, like a side business, or mix that with some other kind of like, she talks about like investing in real estate and stuff like that. Yeah, it's like...
And it's true. It's for us too, is that, we think of that in our lives as like, we like eBay, we're doing this, we're doing that.
Right.
It's like, I think it's a smart way to live life.
I like to hear that other people are doing that. It's really nice to hear that. And teaching their kids to do it too. That's, especially when they're teenagers, that's the time to teach them.
Hey, Ryan and Jay. This is Greg in Georgia. I just had a question about best offers and shipping. I just had an offer come through for like $38.28 because the buyer wanted the total to come out to $54 even, including shipping. So I accepted it, and then when the buyer went to check out, the shipping charges had gone up by about $3, and I do use eBay calculated shipping, so I don't have any control of what eBay shows the shipping is going to be to the buyer, as far as I know. Just wondering if you've ever ran into that, and what's the solution on that. Thanks for all your help. You've been a great help to me. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so the only reason I can think of that happening is that you might have had two different choices for shipping. Like maybe you had priority and parcel selected, and maybe they accidentally chose one over the other.
Or if, what we do, we often will show people the shipping
price.
So maybe that person picked the higher,
but that's the only thing I can think of that it would change from the listing page when they estimated it to the actual invoice. Other than that, I'm not really sure. Maybe you accidentally had a handling charge on it. I'm not sure, but that should have calculated on the page as well. So I don't really know. That's the only thing I could think of. But I am curious to know what you ended up doing. Did you amend the invoice so it was $3 less? Or did you say, tough luck, that's just how much it costs? I'm curious how you solved that issue.
Okay, this is Scarlett. Not so much a question, but I've heard you say a couple of times that you clean up silver. The last time you said you cleaned it up looking for the hallmarks. And I wanted to tell you, I sell silver jewelry and silver everything all the time. You are devaluing it and decreasing the amount you could sell it for when you clean it. Don't ever clean silver. Call an auction house and ask them, or, a vintage place and ask them, and they'll tell you the same thing. And that is why if you go to, like Forever 21 or Ross, or Kohl's, you'll see the black fake silver, because black means age. So the more black, the more age, and the more valuable. So don't ever clean silver. That's, even silverware. If it's real silver, don't clean it. You're decreasing value. One more thing. I go to yard sales, garage sales, etc., and oftentimes it's like rare that it doesn't happen. If there's a bunch of jewelry like Avon crap, it doesn't sell for much. But there's always, rarely is there not 18, 14 karat gold necklace in with a bunch, because people forget. There'll be like a First Communion bracelet necklace they had. They haven't worn it for years, and they have it with all the Avon stuff that they don't want anymore. And they just forget they have it. So, don't pass up the bunches. You can get them pretty cheap. But never clean the silver. And thanks for all the information. for your from your podcast. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so we have, I don't know, I think I guess we haven't said the final word of what we do. We do not clean up most things, you know. The most we'll do is just kind of wipe things down so they aren't dusty.
Yeah.
And with silver, too, I mean, we understand people like the patina, you know, they want the aged looking silver or wood or any kind of a metal. But there are times when, if it's a silver, we do clean it because we want to show the hallmarks.
Yeah, the hallmarks, and sometimes it's filthy. I mean, this one ring that I found, it was black. I mean, I actually thought it was made of like iron, and then I polished it and cleaned it, and I saw the sterling mark. So that to me was more important than keeping the patina. But there are some things, because the cool thing about silver plate is the patina is this cool, like, dark rainbow look, and it does look very cool. So I found some silver-plated utensils on the street in Brooklyn, so I might just keep the patina on those because they look neat, you know?
Yeah, but, you know, it's kind of a case-by-case basis, but for the most part, we don't clean silver, you know?
Right.
Unless we think that bringing out the hallmark is better, means that we're going to make more money.
Right, exactly.
All right, guys, so that's it for It's This Week. Thank you for being here with us. You can email us if you have any comments or questions, or you can also call us.
The phone number is 540-407-8486.
And all the links we talk about, we will link to on scavengerlife.com. You can also go there when we post this, and you can actually join in the conversation. Often we talk about, you know, things that are interesting. And we post this episode every Sunday night, Monday morning, depending on our schedule. And then this Wednesday, we will have our first What's Sold in the past couple of weeks.
And you're going to be seeing a lot of stuff because there's, you know, lots of things I need to pack.
It's going to be an extended version from the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then, and it is cool. We've done some more interviews, which we will post while we're over in Amsterdam. One of them is with a young couple who are doing Etsy.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that just kind of happened. Everyone's talking about it on the blog, and these people contacted us.
Yeah.
And
perfect timing.
I'm in love with these kids. So
yeah, they're very cool. I ran out of room on the recorder because they talked for so long.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had a backup.
I mean, that's really one reason why we do interviews, is really just gives us an excuse to talk to people and ask them everything we want to know, because we are learning from people.
Right.
You know, that's why we do these things.
Yeah.
So that will be posted sometime in September. So anyway, thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
3, 2, 1.